Who better to get us ready for the 2024 college softball season than Alex Storako, joining us weekly here on Locked On Sooners. Let's catch up with Alex next on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, Alex Storako. This is the Alex Storako Show, joining us each week here on Locked On Sooners for the 2024 softball season. Alex had a fantastic year with the Sooners in 2023, helping them win a national title. Alex, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you guys? It's been a long time since I've joined you guys, and a lot has happened since then.
A lot has happened since then. You know, we spoke to you just after you transferred to Oklahoma, made that announcement official, and you spoke a lot about the influence of Patty Gasso and just wanting to play for her and play for a national title. So my first question to you before we start talking 2024 softball season and the national championship run is, how did it meet your expectations? You know, because you have this image of playing for somebody or playing at a university, and then you get there and you experience it. How did that match up, or did it match up?
I mean, honestly, like Coach Gasso and like playing with that team really just kind of blew my expectations out of the water. You have these dreams and goals and you want to achieve them, and you surround yourself with people who want to achieve them with you, but it's also about the process of achieving those goals. And I think that, it was really exciting to go through that process of learning more softball, which I never thought that I ever would. And just enjoying the people that are around me. The locker room was so much fun. And the people on that team, like some of those girls will be like lifelong friends. So I'm really grateful for my own decision and like the ability to make that decision, and you know how it's really helped me in the long run and in the game, in the community, and just being around and being a part of Oklahoma Sooners. So,
was there anything that surprised you about becoming an Oklahoma Sooner along the way? Something you weren't expecting?
I guess like I just didn't realize how detail oriented Coach Gasso and the staff and everything is. Obviously, like I've always been taught like details matter and softball is a game of inches and all sorts of those things. So I always believed in that, but I guess I never really knew. I feel like a lot of people really don't know the details that OU like buys into in order to be so good. And so it's like little details like that really just make the winning easy, which is hard to say, I feel like, for a lot of people. And it's just another day at OU softball. So I think like when it becomes a part of you in your daily routine of like, okay, who's next? Like who are we playing? Who are we beating next? And I think that is really exciting, and like you don't realize you're buying into that or like really getting into that mentality until like after, and like I reflect now and I'm like, wow, we were such on like hardworking cruise control that it was like a lot of fun, and it all happened so fast and then it's over. And so it all happened really, really fast, but that was a really big part of last season for me.
So you came in with a ton of experience. You know, you threw a ton of innings at Michigan, obviously really, really good. So how did your game grow under Gasso and Jennifer Rocha and even JT, Gasso? I'm sure, he gets a lot of, credit for working with the hitters, but I'm sure he's got some input in your game and your preparation as well.
Yeah. I really didn't think that it would change a whole lot, but it really did in the fact of I went from throwing 200 innings my senior year at Michigan to just over 100 at OU, which one was a big part of why I came here. I wanted to have that staff, but also just learning the game in a very analytic way. Coach Rocha, especially obviously within the bullpen and gearing up for season, really had to help me along with watching film and like buying into the way that she scouted and being able to game plan like within those scouts that we come up with. And I think that a lot of people don't realize how much time and how much like effort goes into scouting at OU and watching film and things of that nature, because I feel like it's kind of a newer side of the game with how much film and data is out there. And I think that's really exciting, and buying into like the science proof of softball. And like JT really gets into that, which is so funny. But when you have a whole staff that buys into it, and then they are able to put the why we're doing things into our process, I think that really helps softball in itself, but also you grow as a pitcher, a player, and those sorts of things. So I think that was a really big part of my game that grew the most, was the fact that I had to really buy into like Coach Rocha's way of scout, but also learning how to scout on my own too. I think she really tested me and helped me grow in that aspect of being like, what do you think and what are you seeing? Because I feel like I analyzed swings pretty well previously to OU, but when you get behind and you're writing notes about every single player, not even just in the lineup, but their extra hitters, who they're coming in for, pinch hits and stuff like that. Like there's so many levels to the greatness. And I think that was something that I didn't expect, but I loved learning in the process.
That speaks to the attention to detail and how you go on the type of run that you and this program went on. The winning streak, the back-to-back-to-back national championships, as I hear Plank on the radio side describe it, he likes to at times refer to you and the team as almost Beatles-esque, where the Sooners go, it's the crowds follow, right? Little girls want to see and be a part of what this team is doing. So what was that like? The championship expectations, if you want to call it a media circus at times that follows the team, just the attention. What was it like to be a part of?
It was so cool. And I guess like I knew like OU was good, and I knew kind of what I was getting myself into. I definitely did not expect the level as to which it was kind of happening, because like you said, everywhere we went, our security was actually like security. Like the lines out the door of everything, everywhere we went almost felt like a home game, because we broke the attendance records wherever. I mean, we opened up at Iowa State, and I don't think I could see a single bleacher spot in the crowd. And so when you experience that for the first time, I think that is like really cool, but it's just awesome too, because I've been in NCAA college softball for so long that I saw the evolution of it to pre-COVID as well. My freshman year was 2019. So I was able to see like the evolution of like, this is awesome, but like, oh my gosh, we're breaking records, but also we're breaking like everyone's expectations, truthfully, because of just the era of greatness that this has been for Oklahoma. And I think like I'm so appreciative that I've gotten to be a part of it, let alone just be in the same, breath as it all. So it is kind of overwhelming at first, but you get used to it. And I think the staff and like the team does a really, really good job of like kind of preparing you for those kinds of moments as well, kind of gearing up for all of that. I remember getting ready for preseason like this time last year, and everyone's like, oh, just wait till Mark Campbell, just wait till Mary Nutter, like just wait, like this is awesome, but just wait. And then so like I just was like, okay, like cool, like I'm trusting in you guys. So I feel like what also helped too was like the experience of the team being in those kinds of environments. And they're like, I think they get excited to see the new players, freshmen transfers, having that kind of wide-eye moment. And then they're like, okay, this is pretty cool. So it was just a lot of really cool moments all together, and you get used to it in some ways. And I feel like still at some point, like I'm not used to it, but like it's so cool. Like I really am in awe just in the 5 years that I've been a part of college softball and seeing how much it's taken off. I think that's it makes me just so proud.
Yeah, the sport has blown up over the last few years, and And yeah, at Oklahoma, but also in a lot of places across the country, it's really growing, and you're seeing the sport go to another level and the talent go to another level as well. We're going to talk about maybe some of the teams that could threaten Oklahoma's, championship run, threaten the streak. Maybe we're going to talk about how to manage those expectations as well, coming up here next after the break with Alex Storako here on Locked On Sooners. Now is the time to get in on the action over at Gametime. It's a great app that lets you see exactly where you're going to be sitting in the arena, in the stadium from your seat. You can see the picture right on the app. It's also got the lowest prices and the best last minute deals available on Gametime. I'm looking right now at Oklahoma City Thunder tickets. You can get in over the next few weeks for as low as $3 on the Gametime app. You want to go see the Thunder play the Wizards, the really, really good NBA contending Oklahoma City Thunder, $3. You want to see him play the Kings, $8. I'm looking at like the highest, the best option, go see the Heat, $18. You can get in for really low prices right now to go see the Oklahoma City Thunder. So go download the Gametime app wherever you get your apps. Use promo code LOCKEDON20 for $20 off your first purchase. Or hey, if you're looking for a ticket to the big game, use code Vegas100 for $100 off a purchase to a ticket to the big game. That's Gametime, the lowest prices, last minute deals, best prices guaranteed over at Gametime. And we're here with Alex Storako on Locked On Sooners, joining us weekly to break down the college softball season. And Alex, one thing we didn't really get to yet is just how did you and the team manage the expectations of being the national title favorite? And then when that streak started to build and build and build and approach a new record, how did y'all manage that? Because Oklahoma goes into this season still riding that 53 game winning streak, still the overwhelming national title favorite. And that's going to be a big question for how they succeed this year, is being able to manage those expectations.
Yeah, I guess, expectations can for sure get to you, but I feel like when you see the team really buy into each other, like from experience, we really didn't pay attention to our record, the record of, not losing. And honestly, like I didn't really think about it until like I saw it on our ring and it said 53 straight. And I was like, 53 games straight, like that's what we did, like that's crazy. And that's a year later. Like even after we won, like I guess I just really didn't take into effect like how crazy it all is, because we were never focused on it. We were never, hey guys, today's number 49, or hey guys, today's number 30. Like it was never a topic in the locker room. It was never a topic in pre or post game talks. So I feel like when you see like interviews of Coach Gasso or players post game, and they're like, and people are asking them about the streak, and it's like, oh, that's what it's at. Like that's a real reaction, because like it was never like a topic. And I feel like when you're able to not focus on it, I wouldn't say like not care, but when it's not a headline in your mind, I think it makes it a lot better, because you're relying on the girls next to you in the dugout and on the field. And I feel like that's what also makes OU so special, is we just rely on each other. And a really big motto that came up last year was 20 versus everybody and 20 versus all. And you see this year's team really buying into that with 21 versus everybody. And like, I love that. And I think that's what really keeps the locker room in that bubble, and they keep their heads on their shoulders and, staying within themselves instead of trying too much. And I think that's where a lot of other teams, or my former self, got into kind of slumps in a way of you make the moment bigger than what it is. But when you prepare, and whether that's film scout, whether that's practice, and in those moments, they don't seem bigger than what they are when you actually are in that moment. So that's another really, really big thing.
Well, we obviously want to talk about the Sooners in 24, but just one more on winning the national championship and being a part of a magical run from last year. A couple of favorite moments. Is there one moment that stands out? What was the most fun, most memorable moment for you last year?
I mean, honestly, the dog pile. It's everything that I like ever dreamed of. Like, I remember just growing up and watching the World Series when it was finally on TV, and my parents letting me stay up late and actually watching it because there were some really good games back then. And so like you watch the celebration, you watch the dog pile, the moment that everyone runs out of the dugout and meets in the pitcher's circle. And it's like, it was everything that I ever imagined. And like, it felt like everything that I had worked for in my life and my career, like I'd finally checked off every box. So I think like having that satisfaction and the celebration of it all was honestly the best way that I could ever cap off my career. And so it was I don't get emotional a ton, but like when I really dive into that moment, I think it really, really gets to me. So.
Yeah, I think probably my favorite moment from that was just the view of Patty Gasso just kind of ducking her head, and you can tell just overwhelmed with emotion. She's done it all in the sport, and yet still is able to just be in the moment and enjoy and take all of the emotional, roller coaster that it was, and just be in that moment. Like you talked about, living moment to moment, playing moment to moment. She was in the moment. It was never like I've done this before. I've won 5 of these before. It's no big deal. No, it's still a really, really big deal. And it's just really cool to see just the legend that is Patty Gasso still be able to enjoy those moments. So as we look at 2024, every team is going to be a little bit different. The 2023 team was a little bit different from 2022 because no Jocelyn Allo. The 2024 team is going to be a little bit different from 2023. No Grace Lyons, no Haley Lee, no Jordy Ball. So let's look at the lineup because it's still pretty well loaded with some impressive bats. And then you got some really impressive freshmen coming in and adding to this thing as well. We know Tiara Jennings is moving over to shortstop. So give us your take. What's the lineup look like in your eyes as a pitcher? You're looking at it from top to bottom. Do you think it's just as stacked as it's ever been?
I think what's so exciting is that there's so many combinations that coach could use. Like I would be like kind of overwhelmed because there's not a whole lot of like sure places. Obviously you have your core, you're going to have Hansen behind the plate. You're going to have Jada in center field. You're going to have Alyssa Burrito at third, but also Alyssa could move over to short if needed. Like there's so many different combinations that like I truthfully wouldn't want to be the one to put that together. But I think I heard something about last season even that I don't think OU repeated a like batting order because there was so many changes or there was something along those lines for a while that we hadn't repeated a batting order, which is kind of crazy too, because I feel like that's also a part of like softball. You kind of get locked into that rhythm and what you do in a game because you know when this is going to happen. But like truly, like we didn't know the lineup before, and I feel like no one's really going to expect it. Even with the presser that I saw from coach this week, she finally kind of said that Tiara was going to be at short. And honestly, like we kind of got to look at it last year when Grace Lyons was out for a little bit. And so I think that's kind of exciting too, that there is experience in that moment where Grace had to be out. And so when it's not a complete foreign subject, I think that's super fun. But I also know that there's so many girls that are able to step up when that moment comes. So I'm excited to see the different kind of combinations she talks about. The freshmen, I'm really excited to play. I was able to catch a couple in-person innings of the battle series this fall. And it's hard to go back to sometimes, but it's also so fun to see the new faces really grow into what Oklahoma softball embodies. And that's like that energy that we play with, the type of just kind of like furious, like kind of players on the field. Like I feel like no one truly ever really embodies that until you watch Oklahoma softball, which it makes it so fun. So it's fun to see like how new faces and transfers and freshmen like really grow into that, because we're able to see that now with ESPN promoting the battle series, which is so cool. But it's so fun to like look back and see like how much they've grown by the end of the year. And I think coach and the staff does a really, really good job at putting people in those situations so that when it comes time, like they've already been in it. Like there's no nerves, there's no worry. So I think that's really exciting.
Leadership, right? Obviously so important to championship runs and maintaining them. They've got a number of big-time leaders back, but K9, one of them, right? First of all, what is K9 like? Kinsey Hansen, what is she like? And how important is that puzzle piece for Oklahoma coming back?
Right. I mean, I've had the benefit of her becoming one of my best friends. And so we've had always a special bond. And that's not something I was really expecting when I transferred to OU. But she is such a person that is a workhorse and a type of player that every coach would want on their team. And when you have that leader and that sportsmanship and in someone, and especially if they're behind the plate, I think that's any kind of leadership that you'd want on the field. And her and Tiare are co-captains this year, and really excited about that because they each bring something new to the table. Hansen, she's just so like I love that her nickname's K9 because she's got that dog in her. Like she like really embodies all of that, and she just loves to be like part of that, and she really embodies that in every way that she plays. I mean, it's kind of gross, but she does lick her batting gloves before she goes up to the plate, and that's, I don't know if that's a pitcher in me or just like a person in me, but I mean, she just walks up to the plate with like that mean stare that I've seen in practice, and I'm like, yeah, that would suck if I have to actually pitch against them. So I think she just brings a lot of fire and a lot of just like trust. And that's someone you want to have behind the plate, especially for the amount of pitchers that we have this year, but also just like around the field and having that leader on the field, really captaining everyone 1 through 21.
Yeah, she's a big part of the battery. She's a great kind of leader on the field and helping keep pitchers under control, even when things might not be going well. But then also had a resurgent year at the plate, just absolutely huge season for her, and is going to be expected to have another big year this year. Let's turn the page and let's look at the pitchers. We got Alex here, so we got to talk about this big pitching staff that Patty Gasso says can go 6 deep. Let's talk about it next here on Locked On Sooners.
Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate. That's from America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like us, you're ready. Super Bowl Sunday, Super Bowl 58. It is rapidly approaching, and you're ready to score the best seat and grab your favorite snacks and place those super bets. This is just me, but I sort of like maybe a parlay of anytime touchdown scores between Christian McCaffrey at -230, Isaiah Pacheco of -130, or just individually like those two. I think each of the backs are scoring in this game respectively here in Super Bowl 58. But there's so many options that you could pick from. FanDuel, they've got a number of ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
So the Oklahoma Sooners are bringing back some pretty impressive pitching talents. Nicole May, Kierston Diel, S.J. Guerin. They've added Paytn Monticelli. They added Kelly Maxwell. They added Karlie Keeney. So this is a pretty deep staff. First off, is this the deepest staff that you've maybe even seen across the country? You might see 3 arms that you feel really good about going into the season with. But Patty Gasso is saying she's got 6 viable, pitchers. What does that do for a staff to be able to have that many arms to go to throughout the season?
I mean, I thought we were kind of stacked last year with 4. So to be able to come back and be like, just wait, there's 6. I think that's so cool. I mean, mind blowing for sure. I'm really excited to see how Coach Rocha and Coach Gasso really combo all of them. I think with this, there's being so many options. You don't see a lot of that, full 7 innings, complete games anymore. And I think we kind of started to go to that last year, even with 4. So I think we can be a lot more strategic with how you're throwing your pitchers within matchups, which I think is really exciting. And I think also, though, too, it's hard on a pitcher when I feel like your entire life you've been the best at what you're at. And so you're going the full 7 once, maybe twice a weekend, a day. So I feel like as a pitcher too, you have to adjust and also trust your other pitchers when it comes to those moments of matchups or certain teams that you're playing because of maybe they're a righty lefty matchups and stuff. So I think I don't know, I'm just really excited because there's so many different options. I mean, Nicole May is been just a lockdown kind of person on the mound. She shows no emotion on the mound, which I can't believe sometimes, because then you see videos of her in the dugout and me and her are dancing in the dugout. So she just locks in a different type of way on the mound, and that's really exciting to watch. And it's just been such a core piece in so many moments of, the era that OU softball is in, which I think is so cool. And I think she's so underrated in that moment. I think Kierston Diel, she's going to have a lot of breakout moments this year. We got a couple flashes of them later in the season last year. And she just really has to buy into that. And I'm excited because I feel like in the offseason that I've seen her, like she's really grown up in her role and in her place with that stuff. And now once you have a season under your belt of learning how OU operates, I feel like it just really just puts you to the next level. And you have SJ. She really, really showed out this fall, and I was just so excited for her and one of her biggest fans. She was given like those fist pumps and stuff, and she kind of came in super quiet. So just to see her blossom on the field and off the field was really cool to see too, especially I feel like me being the older one on staff last year, I was kind of part of like helping the freshmen really get acclimated to just college softball. In the way that in the animal that it is. So just those two are kind of like my babies, I feel like. So I'm really excited for Katie and SJ. But then like just the added arms from the portal. I mean, Kelly Maxwell, a lefty that, I mean, everyone is used to because of how good she was at Oklahoma State, but like that kind of brings back that lefty kind of power that Coach Gasso and OU is really known for, in names of like Paige Parker and Paige Lowry. So I'm really excited for her and just to see how she just blossoms from learning from Coach Rocha, and see how like really effective she can be this year for the staff and really be one that's like Nicole May, has a lot of experience and really can, if needed, put the team on her back. And I think that's really exciting from her, and it really kind of complements Nicole May really, really well. And then you have another seasoned vet within Karlie Keeney, and I'm excited for her too. She kind of had a little injury setback, but I think that just kind of proves a little chip on her shoulder. She's going to have a lot to prove this season, and I'm excited for her. She really kept us last year, Mark Campbell, in a gritty game. So I'm excited to see what she can do for the Oklahoma uniform. So I'm excited for her. And then you have the fireball thrower of Paytn Monticelli, and I'm excited to see her throw and grow. Especially coming from the Big Ten. We kind of bonded in that a little bit. I chatted with her in the fall, but just because it's a different game, it's a different media standpoint, it's a different role for sure. So I'm excited to see how she grows as well, just from like controlling her pitches and buying into that like scout, like we talked about. I think she's going to be a big role player as well. So I'm excited for the staff. Like I said, that there's so many different combos that they can go with. Like, I mean, they can pull the Texas Tech of throwing a pitcher every 2 innings, which is cool and fun now that we can have that our own kind of weapon in that way. So I'm just excited to see how the staff grows. Obviously, my heart is in the bullpen, so I'm rooting for them always. So
you're the perfect person to talk more at length about this. And John and I were discussing it the other day. What you said resonated with me because we were already talking about it and thinking about it. Kelly Maxwell, Karlie Keeney. I mean, here's a couple of arms like you that they're the top arm, right? They're used to throwing all these innings. Every situation, it falls on me. So that has to be, as you mentioned, an adjustment all of a sudden that now it doesn't all have to fall right at your doorstep. What was that adjustment like for you? And what were, as the season went along, what were the positives? What were the negatives for you in that regard?
Yeah, I think it's a physical adjustment as well as a mental adjustment. Physical, just because like I was shocked at how fresh I felt later in the season, which I feel like isn't obvious, but also just being able to buy into the smaller details that maybe you can't worry about when you are taking on loads of innings, and really just want to achieve the main objective. So I think that is sometimes frustrating because it's like, okay, I never had to worry about this. Why am I worrying about it now? But also what's exciting too is you're able to figure out those little details that you never had the time to do before. So really just you're really good at your craft at that point, but really perfecting it is where you get into it. And then just being able to have fun and fall in love with the game. Because you're able to do that, you're able to trust the pitcher that's in, you're able to trust the next one in, and then you're waiting for your turn. And I think that makes it all the more exciting when you're in the game, is because you're like, okay, my girl's got me, I'm the next one up and I'm going to do my role. And I think when a pitcher is able to buy into that, especially with this staff of 6, I think that really also helps with just being able to combo pitchers and know the difference and know that it's all a strategic way of really just adding on to the wins of just how good it all can really be.
All right. So real quick, before we get you out of here for this week, who do you think is going to be the biggest threat to Oklahoma's national title run?
I feel I don't know. I feel they have a couple early tests, especially this weekend with Duke and Washington. Duke reloading the most from last year. Washington graduated a lot. But I feel there's a couple down the road. I mean, Texas returns a experienced younger team. And so I think that can be an exciting series. But as well as there's a couple games at the Marionetta I'm excited for. I'll also be in attendance to the Marionetta, but I feel the Big 12 can be kind of gritty this year. So I'm excited for that. And I'm just, I saw the schedule and I saw Baylor first game, Hall of Fame. I'm kind of pumped for that one too, because Baylor obviously was gritty last year. So they return an experienced kind of lineup and pitcher in Orm. So there's just so many aspects of it all. And I think obviously the difference of having maybe a more higher strength of schedule from last year, and people kind of reflect on that a lot for this year. But I think when you're able to season your entire roster from the jump makes you 10 times better down the road. And coach is always looking to be better down the road. So I feel that is what they're really going to buy into. But this weekend, I'm excited for the Duke matchup. That's my circled game for the weekend. So
it's going to be a fantastic weekend down in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, for the opening weekend of softball. We'll recap it all next week with Alex Storako here on Locked On Sooners. Make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Also hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex Storako. Also go check out her merch store, alexstorako.com as well. Follow Josh on Twitter at Josh on Ref, myself at John 9 Williams. But until next time, we're going to say Boomer, and everybody says
Sooner.
There it is.